three dots by the side of your name, and you can change it to a name not known, X's if you like. So just for the purpose of just letting you know that it will be recorded. The call will be approximately an hour long with some amazing guest speakers who I'll introduce in a moment, but cameras and mics have all been defaulted to off. So if you have any questions, then please pop them in the chat box or raise your hand if you can't find the chat box, and we'd love to help you out with some questions and some answers on school outreach. So let's think about some introductions of the individuals that will be on the call today. So we're delighted to be joined by Mark Cameron, the OBE of the 5% Club, and Amy Sutcliffe, UTC Projects Coordinator at Baker Deering Educational Trust. Matt Higgins, who's Employer Brand and Development Manager with Barrett Developments, and myself, Account Director at the School Outreach Company, and also my colleague Jen. As you can see, I'm on her username. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Mark to share his thoughts with you. I'm just going to stop sharing my slides so that we can see Mark. Mark, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much, Maria, and it's a great pleasure to be here with the School Outreach Company this morning, and welcome to all the members of the 5% Club for this online session. It's great to have you all here, and I suspect there'll be a few more who will join us throughout. Just a little bit of an explanation really why the 5% Club is doing this event with the School Outreach Company. For 5% Club members, obviously we focus on workplace learning. Our purpose is to inspire positive employer action for increased, accessible and inclusive workplace learning for all. So we're generally age agnostic. So this event, which is focused on young people and people of school age, it is a bit of a departure, but an obvious one. And what we've done in the 5% Club is we actually partner with organisations who can add to our purpose, but are slightly beyond the area we focus on. And the School Outreach Company is a patron partner of the 5% Club, and the reason that we're partnered is to get the expertise into how to deliver outreach and school outreach in particular, and that's for people of all ages. But it's to essentially help provide balance in the advice that young people get. Still, we see a bias towards university. Startling statistics that 1 in 4 of those who started university this year have got no hope of getting on a graduate scheme, and that's before an economic downturn. And still an aspiration that from parents, etc., that young people go on to university, and apprenticeships is still stigmatized as the wrong pathway. And yet when we speak to employers, actually, apprentices are on equal footing with graduates, and in many respects, apprentices help provide those on grad schemes with their early careers pathway, and many apprentices are mentors to graduates. So employers view things differently to schools. So the whole point of this morning is to really explore how to conduct effective school outreach in order to maximise access to the talent pool in schools, and to take a different approach to make sure that when you conduct school outreach, you do so in an effective way. So I'll stop speaking there. As I started, it's great to have everybody here this morning, and I'll hand over now to Amy from the Baker Deering Trust, who will explore this in a bit more detail. Over to you, Amy.
Thanks so much, Mark. What I'm going to do actually is I'm just going to quickly go back to my slides and share those. We've got some visuals as well for you all. I won't keep you a moment. And just before Amy speaks, actually, Jen's just going to catch up with a couple of thoughts about who the School Outreach Company are, and then we'll hand over to Amy there. So, Jen.
Great, thanks Maria. Good afternoon everybody. My name's Jenny Austin. I'm an account director here at the School Outreach Company, and I just wanted to take an opportunity to give you a brief overview of who we are. As an organisation, we are passionate about supporting students making the challenging decisions about their future careers, and we strongly believe that in order to make those decisions, they need to be in possession of all the information about the varying different pathways and options open to them. The School Outreach Company are now the leading provider of school and college outreach in the UK. Our core objectives are to drive inclusivity, social mobility and candidate equality, and really ensure that all candidates from whatever background have access to the varying different career pathways open to them. Every day, myself and my colleagues engage with schools and students to promote opportunities and support the transition from education to employment. And at the very heart of this, we recognise absolutely is the relationships with the educational providers. So we have mapped every single primary school, secondary school and college throughout England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. And currently now engaging with 89% of all secondary schools throughout England. 95% of the academic establishments that we engage with are now then onboarded with our various client programmes. And a little bit about our purpose and why we do what we do. For a long time, employers have invested heavily in graduates and graduate programmes, but there has been significant underinvestment in alternative career pathways such as apprenticeships. And this can be clearly shown by a survey that was undertaken by UCAS, which showed that graduates felt that access to career information was either very easy or easy to access, whereas school leavers felt that the same information to career advice was either hard or very hard. Over 50% of students interested in applying for university for 2022, interestingly, also registered for apprenticeships, yet over 30% of school leavers received zero information on apprenticeship schemes. Now, we understand as an organisation that one of the biggest challenges to overcome is the perception of apprenticeships from students' perspective and also their key influencers, parents and their careers advisors. Currently, only 4% of school leavers associate the word prestigious with apprenticeships, compared to 76% who would associate the word prestigious for studying a university degree. So clearly there is more work to be done. Whether it be for school leavers or apprenticeship programmes, year on year, candidates are seeking more information at an earlier point. So now I'd like to hand over to Amy, who's going to share her thoughts on the impact of school outreach from an educational provider's perspective. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you very much, Jenny, and thank you for your introduction at the beginning, Maria. My name is Amy Sutcliffe. I'm UTC Projects Coordinator at Baker Deering Educational Trust. Next slide, please, Maria. So first of all, just to set the scene a bit for UTCs, UTCs are university technical colleges. They are STEM secondary schools, the first of which opened in 2010. Students generally join UTCs at the age of 14 into year 10 or 16 into year 12, although some have extended into Key Stage 3 and do recruit at year 7 or 9. Each of the colleges has a really strong focus on employer-led learning, keeping the curriculum relevant to skills and knowledge needed in the industry, and each college was set up with founding industry partners and a university. Baker Deering Educational Trust supports this network of colleges, and my role is to support the network of specialist leads nationally and to organise multi-college projects and events, which often have a strong employer focus. Next slide, please, Maria. We work with over 400 employers nationally, and employer engagement is really at the heart of what a UTC is. Next slide, please, Maria. This close link to industry is shown really clearly in the destinations of our students. We have many more students entering into apprenticeships at higher or degree level than the national average. It's generally, on average, over the whole network, about a 50-50 split between apprenticeships and university, apprenticeships, employment and university. Next slide, please, Maria. But I don't need to talk for our students. Our alumni can do that for themselves. And so I'd like to just show you this short film. It's only 3 and a bit minutes long, but it really shows the long-term impact of employer engagement and school outreach to students. So if you could start the video.
I really love the role that I've got, and it's nice to see an actual impact of the work I'm creating.
Knowing you're making an impact and knowing you're actually designing things that are going to be standing one day, it's unbelievable.
I speak to so many different people. It gives me a really nice feeling that I am the expert.
Today, there are 17,500 young people who are benefiting from a UTC education. And by coming to a UTC, very quickly they realise this is the direction I want to go into. This is what I want to do.
I'm Simon Light. I'm a technical solutions specialist at Cisco.
I'm Alex Bear. I'm an apprentice engineer at Spencer Group.
My name's Usman Muller. I'm an apprentice civil engineer at Jacobs.
I went to a UTC because I found I really wanted to focus my learning into one particular area, and I think that has allowed me to develop my skills and start to grow those as I gain experience across the business.
It prepared me for my working life. It taught me how to act, but also how to use different software. So I've used a lot of my skills from the UTC since I've graduated.
You don't really know what makes you click until you've gone out and you've done something. But with the UTC, you get the opportunity to get that experience, those professional links.
UTC alumni are having an impact in industries such as engineering, digital, healthcare. They're innovators, they're problem solvers.
They are ready to work. Being able to work to deadlines, being more resilient are all critical skills. And that's what we see coming out of the UTC.
The students that we've had on our placement, when they came to work for us full-time, they already had the attributes we were looking for.
A bunch of young people with fresh ideas, energy and enthusiasm, I think is brilliant. And to have that talent coming through from the grassroots level and learning the organisation and pushing through the organisation just really guarantees our future.
The skills it set me up with and my social skills, I think it was unmatched. I don't think I would be here if I didn't go to a UTC.
Coming out of the UTC, you're taking a big step into a new world. Because of the experience at UTC, I definitely did feel more ready for work.
I think the UTCs push you, that help you take those steps and get that experience. That made me click and that lit that spark.
I think the future is really bright for UTCs.
We're really lucky to have this many young people from the UTC. They have a real place in our business today.
My journey from the UTC to here has been amazing, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for me.
These logos that are here represent the top 10 most popular employers for UTC students who left college in 2021. And there is basically a story of outreach from each of these employers. So yeah, behind every single one of these. I won't go through all of them because I'm going to be talking for 10 minutes, but just as an example, BAE Systems works closely with a number of different colleges nationally, but I'll use the case study of UTC Portsmouth. Here, BAE Systems run an annual key engineering project, which is facilitated by their engineering industrial placement students for students at the college. So this not only benefits the students who take part, but also provides great CPD for the industrial placement students as well. BAE Systems also provide work experience for students to ensure that they have experience of the working environment before they leave college. For the Global Academy, a UTC specialising in creative media, Global, the world's leading media and entertainment group, provide real-life briefs for students to work on, work shadowing opportunities and work experience for students at the college, and through this recruit a large number of students into the various branches of their company every year. The NHS and Health Education England are working closely with UTC Sheffield Olympic Legacy Park and their health science and social care students, and 8 other UTCs nationally on a national digital skills for health project, which is aiming to bridge the digital skills gap that the NHS is currently seeing in its new recruits. Spencer Group are a founding partner of Ron Deering UTC in Hull, where they support students through career advice and guidance, setting industry standard projects, work experience and more, as well as offering as many as possible the chance to join the business as apprentices. I'm here to talk about secondary education and outreach in general, but I think the picture from UTCs tells a really important story about the power of school outreach. UTCs are in a great position where they're founded with industry backing and have a support network within their specialism, not just from us at the Baker Deering Educational Trust and other UTCs, but also from their employer and industry partners. However, the majority of secondary schools in this country do not have this or anything like near this support. So if you are serious about supporting the talent pipeline into your organisation and encouraging young people into your industries, then you need to start early. Get your name known, help the educational establishments to ensure that their young people are leaving school and college with the skills that you need in your industry by communicating these to them. It also gives you an opportunity to get to know the young people you are looking to recruit, and therefore can also improve the quality of those you end up recruiting. As well as this, as already touched on by Mark, there's a bigger piece to be done here around levelling up. 9 out of 10 schools have insufficient funding for careers advice and guidance, so many young people don't know about the range of options and roles open to them when they leave school. There's a stigma around apprenticeships being only for hands-on dirty careers, such as construction, and that needs to be changed because that is the way recruitment is going, both in the minds of students, but also, and possibly more importantly, in the minds of the parents. Having employers supporting the curriculum, engaging young people with projects, workshops, events and talks about what they can do to help, can really help to change this for the better. So that's it for me. I look forward to answering any questions that you have later on.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Amy. If you do have any questions, please for Amy. We're going to get them together and we're going to look at sort of distributing them in the chat, so from the chat facility. So without further ado, I'd love to hand over to Matt from Barratt Developments, who will share with us his thoughts on the school outreach and also what his organisation are doing to support this amazing thing. Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much, Maria, and thank you, Amy. I think it's interesting your kind of closing statements there, particularly around kind of dirty careers in construction, is something that is very relevant to Barratt Developments, but actually a stigma that we very much have to fight within the industry that perhaps it is most relevant to. So it's it's really good to be able to kind of open that dialogue and sort of recognise the really varied careers that are available within the construction industry and house building specifically as well. So yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matt. I work in Barratt Developments as an employer brand and development manager, which I always say is a bit of a nonsense job title. It's a combination of quite a lot of different things, but the important bit, I suppose, for today is very much around that employer brand piece and really highlighting the amazing careers that we have within Barratt, and actually beyond that, the amazing careers that are available within construction and house building in general. Maria, if you could go on to the next slide. What I'm going to do, I've only got a few slides, so I won't kind of do death by PowerPoint this afternoon. Really, I wanted to talk a bit about why we feel school outreach is such a kind of a vital part of our mission as an organisation and kind of bridging the skills gap that exists within the industry and supports a number of other factors as well. What we've done to date with the School Outreach Company and then also kind of what's on the horizon moving forwards. And I'll kind of give a brief overview of those different areas. I think first and foremost, kind of why school outreach? Why is this something that we care about? It will probably come as no surprise to most of you on the call that we do have a real skills gap within the industry. That's not specifically house building, that's construction in general. And so developing early talent and bringing people into the industry, and I suppose opening people's eyes up to the variety of careers that are available is vitally important to ensure that we can build the number of homes that need to be built. The government is pushing and pushing and pushing for more and more homes to be built. As a company, we're pushing towards 20,000 homes that we would like to be building per year. We're not there yet, and that will require investment in skills and in individuals across the business. But it's an ongoing challenge, not just for Barratt Developments, but number of house builders and sort of the wider construction industry to find the individuals who actually want to go into those roles. So it's really important that we cultivate a career pathway within house building as a really viable option. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily see it that way at this stage. And I think, again, this comes back to some of those comments around prestige, whether an apprenticeship route is right compared to a degree, so on and so forth. And I'll talk a bit more about that. Ultimately, school outreach is not just about kind of bums on seats and applications for our programs. It's about broader brand and industry awareness. And actually, I think if you're looking at it purely as a pathway for applications, you're probably looking at it in too narrow of a way. Yes, that absolutely is something that you can gain value from, and creating those really tangible pipelines is something that I think is useful, but actually there's so much more value to be added when you think about general brand awareness or general industry awareness. Obviously within that pipeline that I'm referring to, it's about increasing diversity as well. So again, construction industry has quite a stereotypical view often of the types of people that might go into that particular industry, and that's something that, you know, I think school outreach activity has a real opportunity to challenge, both in terms of kind of socio-economic background of individuals, geography, ethnicity, gender, so on and so forth. All of these factors are areas that we really want to, you know, tackle as an industry. This isn't something that's unique to Barratt Developments by any stretch, but actually one of the major ways of I suppose increasing that engagement with a more diverse candidate population is starting at the very top of the funnel. You know, actually engaging with people who may never even considered a career in house building at quite an early age, because often, you know, the more people I speak to, the more I hear, you're talking to people too late. You're talking to people too late. These decisions have already been made. You know, parents, teachers, careers advisors have influenced them down a path that perhaps isn't actually A, right for the individual, but also B, going to lead them necessarily to a career in house building. So that's really where school outreach, I think, adds a huge amount of value. And then obviously I have got it there, you know, ultimately in a perfect world, that will increase application numbers as well, particularly for some of our programs that perhaps, you know, people may not have considered if they were perhaps maybe more academic and traditionally would have been guided towards a, you know, university kind of route. We have obviously a number of intermediate and higher and advanced apprenticeships within the business, some of the traditional mucky ones that you might think of, like bricklaying, carpentry and joinery, but we also have a series of degree apprenticeships in a really wide range of roles. So in our land teams, quantity surveying, so on and so forth. So it's about kind of recognizing the really wide range of options and I suppose getting in front of an audience at an early enough age that it actually can influence some of those decisions and, you know, present those options in a really viable way. Could you go on to the next slide, please, Maria? So in terms of what we've done with the school outreach company so far, we've actually engaged with over 1,200 schools. So we've been working for a little under a year to initially reach out and engage with these schools and say, you know, would you like to hear more from us? Would you like to know more about Barratt Developments, the house building industry, the types of you know, roles that are available, the pathways that are available, and just general information about the company and the wider industry. And we've, I think, had 99% success rate in terms of the schools that we've reached out to. They've said, yes, yeah, we absolutely want to hear more from you. In terms of how we pick those schools, we kind of essentially stuck a pin in the map on each of our divisional offices that we have across the UK, drew a radius around it, and then basically picked those schools based on the proximity to divisional offices. And that's A, for kind of, it's obviously an ease type approach. So, you know, if people are local to our divisions, they're obviously more likely, hopefully, to consider a career somewhere that is local to them. But I think that will long term have implications as well for things like, you know, work experience. If that's something that we, you know, strive to push as we go kind of through this engagement, actually having individuals in the local vicinity would make that significantly easier and something that we can probably engage with in a much clearer way. And in terms of how we've engaged so far, so year one has been primarily focused on virtual engagement. So really getting schools on board, first of all, getting them to kind of sign up and agree, I suppose, to the idea of being in contact with us, and then actually presenting them with information that hopefully is engaging, interesting, valuable for their students. So it's a mix of approaches to things like newsletters, webinars, infographics, kind of the list goes on. What I would say is this is something that our schools, our divisions have been engaging in with schools over the years anyway. It is something that they perhaps took a more sporadic approach, but actually working with the school outreach company gives us the opportunity to really harmonise the way that we approach this as an organisation and make sure the information that we're sharing is relevant, is consistent, and ultimately is doing the very best job it can to promote careers in construction and careers in house building to a really diverse audience. Sorry, Maria, if you can. Thank you very much. And then this, I think this is my last slide. So in terms of kind of where we're going from here, ultimately, where we've started with a really wide funnel, obviously it's going to be very, very difficult for us to go into 1,200 plus schools in person. What we've actually asked is that actually our divisional offices select a smaller subsection of those schools to actually deliver some in-person engagement with over this coming year. We're still going to do the wide net piece, still have that engagement with a really wide range of schools in a virtual way. So, you know, don't want students to kind of, you know, have us drop off the radar after that first year, but actually selecting some schools that perhaps have close divisional ties, are particularly relevant for the divisions in the local area, but also that align with a number of key diversity indicators that we are trying to drive within the organisation. So things like gender, social mobility, so on and so forth. Selecting those schools for slightly more tailored in-person engagement to again kind of maintain that contact and that awareness piece of both the business and the industry. As I said before, we're going to continue with that wider virtual engagement, and actually part of that will include things like employability sessions. So some major areas like CV writing, interview skills, elements that will actually support people in that transition into a working role by giving them the real skills that they need in order to kind of take those steps. Obviously beyond that, we'll be engaging in you know, a wide variety of ways, and certainly where our divisions go into schools, the view will be that it will be for a variety of reasons, whether it be delivering activities, talking about the careers that are available, meeting apprentices, so on and so forth. Basically, there's a really wide range of options that are available there. But yeah, very happy to answer any questions that people might have a little bit later. Hopefully that gives a bit of a flavour of what we've been doing with the school outreach company so far, and really the success that we've found with them. And yeah, it's something that we definitely want to continue pushing forwards with over the next few years. So yeah, thank you very much, Maria.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. That's great. Thank you. So really for me, I wanted to share with you our approach. I know that Matt has just then discussed quite a lot of different things that we've done, which is amazing, and shared. I'm just going to spotlight myself now. I hope that's okay. And share with you a little bit about how we do this and about our successes and our key objectives and things like that. So Matt has already explained to you that the approach has been to put a pin in the map and draw around it on a required area, if you like, across the country. And then we've done some significant mapping with regards to the schools, the locations, to the divisions, the offices, to the facility of the specific industry, the specific corporate or the specific organisation. We've also then taken into consideration a lot of other thoughts around the schools and what the schools look like. So we've considered free school meal percentages above the national average, under the national average, what that looks like with inner cities, with more rural areas. We've also, as Matt said and Amy, we thought about the gender split with regards to the school, and schools that maybe would have slightly more female. Specific, I know we're dealing with one of our organisations who are looking currently at engineers and construction, and really would like to encourage more female into their workforce. And we've also taken the approach to think about the Ofsted, those schools that may be in special measures, those schools that may have serious weakness that need a little bit more help from their local community, from a corporate social responsibilities that we have to try and support our community and support our young people. So with this, all of this information in hand and all of this mapping done, we've been able to bring together a large amount of schools specifically required for the specific organisation, and go out to them and do just what Matt said. Ask them, would you like to be involved? What can we do to help you? Would you like employers to visit you? And we have the usual sort of thoughts. It would be really interesting to hear Amy's thoughts with regards to skills workshop delivery, attending work experience, attending mock interview sessions as a local employer, and different things like that. And I think one of the key things that we found such a great success is, again, as Matt said, some of this is happening within your organisation by individuals, but you don't know about it, or you don't know what content is being delivered, and you can't track it should you want to feed back back to your senior leadership teams and share the successes and share the support that your organisation is giving out in the community. And I think Jen said earlier about how passionate we are as the School Outreach Company to ensure that the right information is given to the right individuals, and the balance, as Mark said, is there. So we can support these young people in a key balanced way, and that's really, really important to us here at the School Outreach Company and to the organisations we've worked with. Now, the virtual approach is something that has been put together because initially you do end up talking to quite a lot of schools, especially if you're a large organisation like Barratt Developments, Nestle, Virgin Media, O2, some of those organisations. You know, there's a lot of different sort of locations across the UK, and you couldn't possibly send out your early careers, your talent teams to visit every one of those schools. So we've done a second level of mapping and considered some of those attributes, so from a free school meal perspective or gender split, and picked within each location a smaller number of schools, and actually then started to create a calendar where we can support their careers fairs and support the interactions on site. And this looks really different now because initially we started during COVID times and the virtual scenario did work, but more and more our schools and our young people are crying out for these on-site visits and local employees to visit them. And one of the key things that we do is ensure we share those amazing career pathways and those amazing opportunities. Like we've all said here, you know, at the moment, the schools very much are still targeted with regards to UCAS applications, universities, and we all know that you can continue in further education and obtain some fantastic results, degree graduates even via apprenticeship routes. And that's something we like to share with our individuals and our young people. So here I'd just like to share some of the examples of the content. Matt highlighted some newsletters. What we have done is at the School Outreach Company is we've done some studies with regards to what the attention span is of a young person nowadays. And, you know, 5-page newsletters aren't necessarily going to be what they're going to sit and look at. But however, we make those very informative for careers leads, or they might even be able to be sent home to parents. We're doing parent webinars, careers leads webinars. With regards to the young people, we're looking at podcasts, we're creating some short videos. So many of the organisations we work with have some amazing content that we just need to package it slightly differently to make sure that we are reaching the young people when raising awareness of apprenticeships and things like that. We do a lot of QR codes so we can track and see how many people are clicking and coming into your websites to understand more about the opportunities that might be available to them. And that's really, really important, is to, again, to not only be able to report on all of the actions and the activities that we're doing, but to ensure we can trace it and track it. So for Barratt's, where we're working in our second year of the programme, you know, that's very much our key goals for this year, is not only to be on site with the individuals, but also to track and trace and make sure that the information we're providing to the schools is being used and supporting all of the individuals that we'd like it to. Project planning is really, really important. Myself as an individual, I used to work in schools and also work in a large corporation, and the calendars are very different. And a corporate might come to me and say, oh no, well, I'd like to see them this week. You know, I can't possibly see them next week. And the school calendar is so strict with regards to their timetabling. Also with the actual school weeks of the year, you know, are much less than a corporate week. We have to consider admissions for the early part of September. We have to consider mocks, GCSEs, A-levels, revision time, sports day. We consider many different dates that are in the calendar for a school, and we create a project plan, a chart that we can merge the two together with the organisation we're working with and make sure that we can reach out to the students at the right time, but also consider things like application dates, go live, closing applications, or, you know, various different assessment centres and opening and things like that, and share some really key information with the schools so that it can reach the students at the right times. You know, sort of year 13 and year 11 pupils at certain parts of the year are really, really untouchable in schools. So if you're considering to support maybe a recruitment pipeline, as Matt said, we have to be careful as to when we can speak to those individuals. The So the next couple of slides is just actually some and examples of some of my end of campaign slides, and this has really been based around things like tracking open rates on some of our publications, so newsletter engagement throughout the year. What we've been able to do is track throughout the year all of our corporates and bring that information together to see when was the most suitable time for opening and things like that, when were things used more and shared within our the school network and the different individuals, and getting home to the parents. One of the key things about engagement in schools is just that, the parents. We know statistically, as Mark's mentioned earlier, you know, the levelling up. A young vulnerable person will only go to their careers leads or their teachers for help and support. Somebody from a different background will literally only take on board what their parents say. So we need to ensure that we're thinking about all of these key areas as individuals to get the right messaging across and give everyone the right opportunities. At the end of the campaign, so each year, mid-year and at the end of the year, we highlight specifics for key areas and provide reporting and do just that on the number maybe of girls within the area that we've been able to interact with. It may be the number of free school meals, so above average free school meal schools that we've been able to support and help. How many schools were engaged in that area? For instance, this slide is Bristol. We had 35 schools in Bristol. All 35 schools were really, really keen to be part of the programme. And we also, as I said, do look at Ofsted results. We see real synergies with regards to free school meals, Ofsted results, different schooling styles, and those schools are really crying out for support and help from local employers. So we make sure that we target key areas that are required. And last but not least is just the timeline. And as I said before, it's really important to, the initial part of this is to ensure that the schools are on board. So we don't just start sending schools information from employers. We speak to them about working in a partnership with us, and, you know, that they're happy and they give their consent for us to contact them and send this information through. And we also provide them with sort of a certificate to say you're working in partnership with a local organisation and they're supporting us and our young people, and that timeline happens throughout the year and the academic year. It's not just something that sort of happens overnight. We very much like the individuals within the school, might be head of sixth form, careers leads, different people, to be involved and work through the timeline with us. And I think probably Amy will say, from being in a school, that's quite important to build that relationship, not just assume that you can send them something this week and it will be sent out to all their students just because we feel that's the right thing to do. We try and keep a continuous approach and continue to support. So as an organisation, please take a look at the School Outreach Company on LinkedIn and our social media sites. We produced our first corporate Reach magazine, which is amazing. It has some wonderful stats with regards to university placements this year. Information, we're partnering with UCAS and understanding more about what those numbers look like and what they will look like in the future. Obviously, it was a deferred year this year because of COVID, so many students weren't able to obtain their placements, and you know, the apprenticeship opportunities are more important and more valuable for those young people and those individuals. So that's all for me. I wondered if anybody has any chats for any questions. It'd be really, really great to hear. I had one question from myself, which was actually for Amy, so hopefully that's okay. But it would be, when we're thinking about skills and workshops to delivered on site, you know, I think Matt talked about CV writing, personal statements. What do you think are the most sort of suitable content to be providing to years 11, 12 and 13, other than information about the organisation from a careers perspective?
What we found has been the most successful is ensuring that it's not kind of flash in the pan engagement, that it's something that builds a relationship with the students over time. So what we really try and ask employers for is some form of project that the students can really dig into, really get involved in. That say is launched by a company. Then maybe there's a bit of mentoring that goes on through the process of it, and then there's some kind of judging or, you know, like awarding of prizes or whatever at the end. And that seems to be a format that really really engages students if it's well done, which we try and make sure it is. But it's also that longer term, it enables the company to get to know the students more than if you're just going in and delivering a presentation, and it gets the students kind of relaxing into it and getting to know the employers as well. Obviously there's a higher time resource needed from that, but in our experience, the impact of it at the end is worth that.
Brilliant, thank you. We've got some questions in chat.
Another one for Amy, a similar one about your, so this is for Amy, there's a couple of questions from a similar vein about what you would outline as the preferred route for engaging with students, physical v virtual, and any tips for employers as to what really captures young people's imagination as regard to hearing about careers.
Yeah, so first of all, I would echo what Maria said about virtual versus face-to-face. There's definitely a place for virtual. It means that students can access people who are not geographically available to them, and also you can reach more students at once. So there are certain formats, like if you're say presenting an example of a career and opening that up for Q&As at the end by students, that does work. But there is a fatigue that's set in with virtual, and I'm getting feedback from across our network of UTCs that really they want to get back to face-to-face as much as possible. So I think it's, for us looking forward, it's going to be a hybrid kind of hybrid program of engagement with face-to-face engagement wherever you can. As regards to simple tips for employers as to what captures young people's imagination, I think one thing that is really, really valuable is getting those in the early careers, so getting your apprentices, getting those who have maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years into their careers, getting those people out talking to the students, because that really engages them. It's not kind of as distant to them as somebody who has decades of experience in their career, and they're kind of closer to their school experience, that they're relatable as well. And so that's definitely an easy, simple angle to come at things from. Yeah, I think, does that answer the?
Yeah, I think so.
Just having a look through the chat.
No, brilliant. There's quite a lot of chat. So I was
going to say, Vicky, so it's Jenny, just seeing your question around how many schools specifically we've engaged with in the Norfolk area. I don't have the figure on the top of my head, but absolutely happy to follow up and give you an indication after the call. But generally, it would be through the same mapping exercise. We are currently engaged with 89% of secondary schools throughout the UK. So the likelihood is there'll be a vast majority in that county. But if we were to undertake any work on behalf of promoting your organisation to the schools, we would outline that through a mapping session initially. So we would kind of look at where you'd want to attract schools from in that specific location and give you an indication of the amount of schools that we could go into on your behalf.
Matt just wondered if you could help us with Amy maybe, but we've got a specific question around promoting careers in construction, not all dirty. So just really what are your thoughts? Like we speak a lot, Matt and I, with regards to the amazing career paths and the degrees and the different apprenticeships that are available in construction that aren't just bricklayers or things like that. What would your tips be, Matt, on how we can promote those different career paths better?
I mean, it's a question with probably about 1,000 different answers in some respects, but I think from our experience, there's a few elements that are probably worth considering. I think first of all, it's not just about recognizing that there are a wide variety of career options within house building or within construction, but actually that those opportunities can be incredibly lucrative for individuals as well. You know, these are sort of valuable career pathways. They're not kind of second best options. They're not, oh, you do this because you're not going to university. It's you might actively choose to do this instead of university, as an example, because of how, you know, amazing the actual opportunities are. In terms of, you know, I think within house building, we're quite lucky, Barratt Developments, you know, specifically as well, in that there are quite a lot of social factors to what we do that can be really appealing. And I think leaning into those factors is something that you should be doing with a young audience who actually are particularly politically and socially kind of engaged. I think, you know, particularly when we're talking about things like diversity and inclusion, obviously a massive one. Sustainability is a really big one that, you know, we're really trying to push the envelope within Barratt Developments around how we can be a sustainable house builder, both in terms of the product we build, but also our sustainable talent pipeline as well. And then also, I think the kind of the social value that you can have within a career in house building. It's very rare that you can say, I've shaped an element of the world or a part of the country in some way. And whereas if you work in a house builder or in a construction, you know, company in some way, you can point to a development and say, I helped build that. You know, I've created a community. I've done something that, you know, a lot of people won't have that kind of tangible mark. So I think talking about that and actually leaning into those benefits is something that house builders we can all do a better job of. You know, I think I definitely hold our hands up within Barratt and say it's something we should be doing more of, but it's something that we are, you know, we're shaping that employer brand and shaping the kind of the perception of the industry as a kind of an ongoing activity. But yeah, I think, you know, as well, you can earn a lot of money in house building and in construction. I know that sounds a bit, you know, kind of flippant, but that is attractive to people who are, you know, growing up in a cost of living crisis, who recognise that actually there are all sorts of economic factors that might mean that they don't perhaps have some of the same opportunities that their parents or slightly older generations maybe had. And actually, if there are some alternative pathways that open up their options, particularly when we talk about things like social mobility, amazing. And I truly believe that house building is an amazing opportunity for that. So yeah, I think it's about having those types of conversations. I mean, there's so many ways I could have answered that, so apologies if that doesn't quite hit upon the areas that you were thinking in the question, but hopefully that helps a little bit.
No, it's great. It's brilliant. It's great to have your insights and thoughts. So thank you, Matt. So there's a couple more questions here, which we'll just go through before we sign off. So thank you, Jen.
Yeah, thanks. So there's a question here about, do we have an indication of the relationship or engagement from the schools that we've gone into, and does it make a difference? And I think when we talk about a school being engaged, it's not the fact that they've just simply agreed to accept information on the employers that we're representing's behalf. That sort of level of engagement has been made up over 4 or 5 activities over a period of time. So I think Matt outlined it in his presentation as well, that his organisation had been doing a form of outreach for a number of years, but to really harmonise, to use your words, Matt, I think it's really key and can't underestimate the relationship. So I think that's, we sort of understood from the very outset of setting up the organisation that it was going to be about the linchpin in our relationship was going to be with the schools, and that's built up over a number of activities, getting them engaged, having a really good understanding of what it is that they need, what's going to work for their students, understanding the academic calendar and the time pressures that they're under, and making sure that we're feeding that insight back to the employers so we can make sure that we're giving the best information and that information is going to get to the right individuals in those schools. In terms of stats and being able to track that, I know Maria sort of outlined that we are tracking some of the publications, so we can measure that and how they're received by the students, and that will all input into the type of publications that we use further in that strategy. So if we understand, for example, that, you know, webinars aren't the preferred route currently, then we will look to switch to podcasts, and we will be able to trace the uptake in those sessions. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add.
No,
Maria, in terms of statistics.
Marcus asked a question with regards to a careers strategy, which involves different type of activities rather than just careers fairs. And I couldn't agree more. Careers fairs sort of, you know, you have a huge amount of stands, maybe in a hall or in the cafe, wherever it might be. And I'm sure Amy will share with this. What we're going to try and do, and what we've been trying to do, is do this drip feed approach. So a time that you can generally reach out to young people maybe is in tutor time, which is 10 minutes. You know, or PSHE time, which again would be a really short time frame. So put together some podcasts or some short videos of people like myself or you know, employee within the business, a young apprentice in the business, which can tell their story, and then have them on that stand. So it might be, come and see me, we're there in 2 weeks time on the stand, you know, and try and do this. We're trying to link it together. And I think that's the key to the strategies. You don't just rock up once a year on a stand, you support the school throughout the year. We give them this drip feed approach of access to some apprentices, to ambassadors, champions of our organisation. And I think that really will help in those terms. There's a couple of questions.
Could I add something there?
Yeah, of
Maria?
course.
Sorry, if that's okay. I just wanted to say that it's really, really helpful for schools if companies have a careers strategy, because it's often, in my experience, the kind of careers outreach is based around an individual, like a relationship that the school has with an individual, and if that person moves on, then the kind of all of the relationship that's been built, it tends to dissipate. I mean, it doesn't always, but it does happen in a lot of cases. And if the company itself has a career strategy and is very clear about what impact they want to have through the activities, I think it can be a lot easier for the school to engage, to kind of, if you're very clear about what you can offer and what you want to gain through that, I think that can be really helpful, because the majority of schools don't have somebody who's dedicated to this. I mean, even in our network of UTCs, they handle it in different ways. It's often a member of senior leadership who has a responsibility for employer engagement. It's not somebody for whom it's their full job. And so if a company comes and is really clear about what it is that they want to do and what impact they want that to have, I think it makes it simpler from both sides. And I also wanted to apologise and say that I don't think that construction is a dirty career. I did have it in speech marks. I was talking about the stigma. I really was.
Oh, brilliant. No, that's great. And I think just really a great note to finish on is the brilliant organisation that's brought us together today to be able to do this webinar, which is the 5% Club. So thank you for that. And Mark, I just have a couple of questions for you, if that would be okay. He's probably thinking they didn't want me at all. So sorry. Hi, Mark. Thank you. It was just really with regards to joining the 5% Club. We've got a couple of organisations that aren't with you guys online, it would seem. Helen has kindly offered her contact details, but with regards to you know, how to become a member of 5%.
Yeah, so the 5% Club is free to join. We're patron funded primarily, so there's no charge. We've got 720 members plus at the moment, with about 1.6 million employees, about 93,000 of which are on Earn and Learn programs. So it's about 5% of the workforce in the UK and about 10% of those on apprenticeships and grad schemes. So our members are generally organisations that are really into the workplace learning aspects. Many online today, but Helen's put her details. If you want to find out more, then please reach out to us. And what we tend to do across the year is events like this, which is create a safe space for a meaningful discussion around a topic linked to workplace learning. In this case, how to outreach to the young talent pool to get them on those programs. So yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Mark. There is just one more thing that I'd just like to finish on. Sorry, another question popped in there after you, which is it's something that I'm quite passionate about as an individual, with regards to the nature of the content we deliver when we're working with sort of children or young people that might be in NEET. For those of you that are unaware, so not employment, education or training environments. And that's something we worked really, really hard on over COVID times, because those young people numbers have gone through the roof, which I'm sure Amy will echo throughout the network. And we've looked at all different styles of content with regards to on-site and different projects that have been funded and quite specific with different organisations. Wellbeing Warriors to younger people in the primary school network, which have actually come out of COVID and not able to sort of really communicate that well with individuals. We've looked at following specific people within the NEET programme with regards to developing life skills, young people across maybe the iCollege network, different networks in those and and other schools will be mapped to support some of those key specific requirements, if you like. So that's certainly something we do, and we follow that individual. And as it's the early days, the first couple of years for the School Outreach Company, we're continuing to follow some of those key journeys to make sure some of those young people are continuing in the employment or the apprenticeship that they've been able to obtain through some of the work we've done. And we will do that more and more and ensure that we track that. So that's great. And T-levels will certainly be something that we bring together and work more and more with as different organisations are moving forward with them. So we support and promote the relevant organisations we're working with and their relevant education offering. Almost see them as an extension, us as an extension to their early careers team and their talent teams, and support them in just helping them with our school knowledge to make sure they reach the right people. So I think that's all we have time for today. It's the top of the hour. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And really, really thank you so much, like I said, to the 5% Club for hosting and supporting us with this session and bringing everybody together. So thank you so much, Mark and his team, and Matt and Amy for your support today. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me.